Hi, I'm Tim. Welcome to our channel, and thanks for logging on. If you enjoy these videos, do me a favor and subscribe to our YouTube channel right here at Watchbox Reviews. I would really appreciate it, and I promise to update daily. If you love this watch, you can see it and you can purchase it on our website, thewatchbox.com. Today we are discussing the Devon Tread 2 Shining, a 2015 release based on the 2012 Devon Tread 2. The Tread 2, Devon's first chronograph, and a first on many counts for the brand out of California. The watch is more wearable than the massive, innovative, provocative, and one might say occasional Tread 1, a timepiece that's not always appropriate to wear. The Tread 2, on the other hand, and in the words of company founder Scott Devon, is an everyday watch that can go right into the boardroom. Now, the timepiece on my wrist, made of stainless steel and fairly large with a tonneau case, nevertheless well shaped for a smaller wrist. My wrist 16 centimeters in circumference, wears this stainless steel Tread 2 chronograph quite well. In terms of thickness, the watch is reasonable at 15. I expected more, frankly. It's 41.5 millimeters from what would conventionally be 9 o'clock to 3 o'clock, not counting the appurtenances on the flank. And from lug to lug, if you were to measure it at its extremes, it is 56.5 millimeters across the wrist, but again, the shape of the tonneau case is your friend there. So I can recommend this watch for a wrist as small as 14.5 centimeters circumference. Devon is an interesting company. Founded by Midwestern frozen bread magnate Scott Devon, the company launched its first watch, the Tread 1, in 2010, picked up a GPHG nomination that year, the first ever American brand to be so recognized, and then in 2012 it launched the model you see here, the Tread 2 with the Shining model, featuring high polished steel, following in 2015. So Devon is out of California, and it uses electromechanical mechanisms to display time, as well as belts, ruby rollers, and optical sensors. That's an awful lot to break down. So let's talk real quick about how the watch fits, because you're going to have a lot of questions about almost everything associated with this model. The strap is substantial, and Devon straps have gotten far better since the original. The timepiece with a very rugged and brand new Devon leather strap in calfskin, featuring a handsome profile that conforms perfectly to the case. So if you want all of a piece integration, you've got that. There's no daylight showing between strap and case. You can see that it flares to match the flare of the case, but it also expands to match the taper of the lugs. The pin buckle is nicely executed, and this is one of those elements that I always appreciate when a pin buckle, often a default design, is designed thoughtfully. Engraved with the Devon logo, you can see it features both satin and polish, as well as an inked Devon logo. It's not simply engraved, it is engraved and inked, and I love that. You can see it's mostly of high polish. It features a little bit of a fluting on the side, which is handsome attention to detail, and it's fixed by a hex screw, which is just cool. Now, jumping back to the case itself, it's simple and strong. As you can see, the Devon case is principally of high polish on the side, and that is the namesake of the model. It is the Tread 2 Shining, although there is a handsome contrast with satin finished metal elements on the control side, and there are two controls present. You can also see how there is a Devon logo on the outer facing of the crown, as well as an engine turn striation on its flank, so the attention to detail here is strong. Satin finished bezel, as well as pincers on both sides for the strap. The bezel features functional assembly hex screws, so these actually do serve a role in assembling the watch and helping it to become the first Devon with any degree of water resistance. Not a lot. The Tread 1 featured no water resistance. This one features 1 ATM, so you're safe against splashes or inadvertent rainstorms, but don't go swimming with this one. Another first for Devon is the Sapphire. The original Tread 1 featured an enormous vaulted expanse of crystal, which was always going to have to be polycarbonate. It could not be sapphire. It would have been too broad and too vulnerable and too unsupported, but because of the smaller watch face of the Tread 2, here a sapphire is perfectly appropriate. Now, the controls on the flank, it is a mono pusher chronograph with a lever that's inspired by tactical knives, and it doesn't take two glances to recognize the resemblance on that count. Scott Devon is a fan of tactical cutlery as well, and on that count our own Jason Maine can probably join him in common cause. Now, you start it all up by pressing the crown, and we're moving out of a power reserve mode. So what I was looking at before was a power reserve mode, and now you're going to see the time of day. I'm going to go back into standby mode. This is also known as power reserve mode because if you look adjacent, the index next to the 12, you can see that we are between effectively 0, 5, and 10. So right now you can see that the power reserve of the watch is at approximately 70%. So 0, 50%, 1, 2 indices, 70% charge left. Now if you run the watch in constant seconds mode, we're going to start it up right now. If you run the watch in constant seconds mode, it has a battery life of about 7 days. If you leave it in standby mode, also known as jump minute mode, it will run for 14 days. It takes about 3 to 4 hours to get a 80% charge. If you want a full charge from dead, stopped, it'll take 8 hours on its associated inductive charger. The watch charges on its inductive system that ships with it from Devon. Now, the timepiece features a lithium-ion battery inside that needs to be replaced once every 4 years during the routine service with Devon in California. So let me show you now how constant seconds mode works. I push the actuator down, and now the watch goes into constant seconds mode. I should mention that constant seconds mode on this watch is much quieter than on the Tread 1. If you're familiar with the Tread 1, you know that you can hear the watch ticking from across a room, sometimes even over the din of multiple people speaking. So this is a much more subdued system. It's far less vocal. You hear it, it's cool, but it's not obtrusive. Now, to turn off constant seconds mode, you just hold the actuator down. Now, if I were to, for example, push down and pull up, I can put the watch in chronograph mode. And to start, the mono pusher, just like that. Now it's in chronograph mode. Now I'm stopping it. Now I'm resuming. You will note that there are only 12 minutes for the chronograph register. So you have the hour working as your minutes register, and then you have the constant seconds, and every 60 seconds that will roll over. So you do have a 12-minute chronograph. You're going to have to keep track of how many times it rolls or confine yourself to relatively short intervals. Now we've reset, and now we've put it back into time-telling mode. The watch is very sophisticated. Its running gear is fascinating. Let's talk about how it works. There are two motors. You can see the two motors. The Tread 1 has 4. The Tread 2 has 2. There are 2 optical sensors, which is why you will note that the index always aligns with the mark on the belt. The belt itself is made of fiberglass reinforced nylon, and so the optical sensors keep everything perfectly aligned, and there's a microprocessor that keeps track of the time accurate to within 1/2 second a day. And unlike many premium quartz calibers, this one is thermocompensated. And when the watch is off, of course, in standby mode, you can basically just leave it for weeks. So operational, constant seconds, 7 days. Operating without constant seconds, 14 days. In standby mode, you can leave it for a couple of weeks. Now the watch, of course, we'll turn it right back on, features ruby rollers that are completely unlubricated. You can sort of see from the side the roller system. Those rollers pivot on ruby bearings, which are designed to be sealed for the life of the watch, completely maintenance-free, and ensure minimal friction to extend battery life. The belt system that's used was actually borrowed from aviation, as this is the exact same technology from some of the same California aerospace suppliers that provided analog cockpit instruments back during the 20th century. So that technology has been ported over to Devon and its Tread 1 and Tread 2. The timepiece is fascinating in that it is effectively a jump minute and a jump hour. And if you put it into constant seconds mode, it becomes a jump second. It's also a regulator, as it separates the displays for hour and minute or hour and second. And it's important to note that when you do turn off constant seconds, the watch remembers what the minute is. So it will always remember the hours, minutes, and seconds. It just will not display them all simultaneously. The timepiece is beautifully made, and it is rare, as Devon constructs about 1,500 watches per year in its California factory. It has a staff of watchmakers. Service at Devon takes 1 or 2 weeks, not months, certainly not years. The breakdown of production is approximately 2/3 Tread 2s and 1/3 Tread 1. The Tread 1, in addition to being less aesthetically versatile, is also a much more expensive watch. The timepiece is wonderfully innovative. Again, Devon, a young company, but one of the only luxury watch brands that will sell you a USA manufactured timepiece, and I absolutely dig it. I'm all about Devon, I'm all about the Tread 1, I'm all about the Tread 2. It also helps that Scott Devon himself is a big-time car fan, a man operating on my own frequency. Operate on the frequency of this electromechanical, belt-driven Tread 2 Shining. See it and make it yours on the Watchbox.